Welcome back to another episode of Philosophise Now. This is our fourth video. This time is about the death of philosophy. So this is quite a, onerous title. So let's go bit by bit. So I chose Ludwig Wittgenstein as the cover of the article, and you will understand very soon why. So the first thing is I was reading this book. It's a comic, Logicomics, and it's in full color. I highly recommend, and it's an epic search for truth, right? For Bertrand Russell. So in this is a story that is mostly true. I mean, it's mostly like a biography, sort of, for Bertrand Russell. And he spent many years of his life trying to build up mathematics and the world, reality, out of pure logic. He thought that it was possible to do, and him and his friend Whitehead, they both tried to do it for many years. He started publishing a number of books and everything, and what happened is that the number one fanboy of Bertrand Russell was Ludwig Wittgenstein, and Wittgenstein he overtook the master. So the apprentice became the master, and Bertrand Russell was quite bitter because of this. So Wittgenstein is quite an interesting character. He was very focused. I would say he was very, he must have been a very interesting person. So today what I want to do, he tried to do exactly the same as Bertrand Russell. He tried to describe all reality purely based on logic. He was a confirmed believer that it was possible to do, and what he did was the Tractatus, right? The Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus. And it's a sort of shortish book that I've read, and it has seven statements. It defines creation and everything, basically all reality, in like 100 pages or less. Like it's incredible, and we'll come back to that. So according to Wittgenstein, so basically the world consists of facts and states of affairs. No? Today is a little bit, the article is a bit technical, so I think for a video, if you want to go all the technical words and everything, you can go to the article and read all the technical words that I described there, that they come from the actual reading of the Tractatus. But I will try to make it a bit more, amenable. So in the Tractatus, he describes that basically everything you can put it as a fact. Everything is a fact, and the fact is divided into objects, and every object has properties. So, for example, let's make it more simple with an example. In the article, I was talking about an apple, right? A red apple. So if I say red apple, then you form a picture in your mind, right? You form a picture in your mind of a red apple, and the red apple will have certain characteristics, certain properties, that object, right? So it will have the skin, it's all atomic. So basically the skin, it will be apple type skin, apple type meat, the meat of the apple type stem, the apple type colors. You cannot have all the colors of the universe for an apple, at least not, in the current reality, the actuality. The flavors, the smell, all the combinations of things that are apple types. They have the property apple type. So that would be, and then you have the color red. So it's a red apple. So it's from all the possibilities of apples, it would be the red one. That is the one you are referring in your statement, in your fact. Then, for example, you have other properties that will not have the label or the hashtag apple type. No? So, for example, in my article, I mentioned hair, right? Usually you don't have a hairy apple, right? So hair would not have the apple type hashtag, right? So by having multiple things, classifying everything with this type of properties, you know, if is this apple-like or has the any kind of apple properties or not. If it's not, then it cannot be called an apple. You know, it won't be an apple. So so then you could have, how about, you know, so what Ludwig Wittgenstein says is that the combination of what it already currently exists and all the potentialities, you know, all the potential things that could be based on all the combination, all the possible combination of all these properties within the objects, and all the combination of all the objects will combine into multiple facts and states of affairs. So you basically, by doing pure logical combination of properties and from objects and objects between themselves, then you can get anything. You can get the existing actual things, like this teacher is this teacher, right? And it has teacher-like properties and teacher-like colors and all these kind of things, right? And the feel and the smell and the touch, it would be teacher-like, right? So, but it could be, somebody could come up with a new style of as in like made of plastic or like anything you can imagine, right? So an artist could come up with the idea of the hairy apple, right? Before there was no hairy apple, hair is not apple type, but then he can come up with a painting or a sculpture that has a hairy apple, or basically you just pick hair and you put it onto the apple, and then tada, you combine all those properties, all those properties on the objects and objects between themselves to create something new that was possible because you could combine those properties. Now, that's all well and good. So he talks about, he goes a bit further into, for example, in philosophical investigations, right? He talks about language as a game. So he feels that everything, you paint a picture. So you're painting a picture when we are communicating with other people or with animals or with plants or with whatever, right? You are trying to paint a picture in their minds, right? You are trying to influence and combine things with your speech. You're trying to evoke those combinations of objects. So you're painting a picture, and that's why there is some problem with communication, because maybe that other person don't have the those objects or properties. It has not been like the same thing with knowledge, right? You have a super scientist that has all this knowledge, and I don't have that information, so I don't have that baseline. So when he's trying to communicate with me using these other words I've never heard of, or any kind of concept I've never heard of, I cannot understand it. You won't be able to paint that picture for me. You will be lacking the colors. You don't have the colors for me, and then you have to start building up from smaller pieces of information or objects, and then building up. Okay, now I know this now exists in my realm, and then I got another one, and that's how you learn, right? That's what the teachers are doing to you. So he says that a baby, for example, doesn't have the capacity to communicate yet, right? He can communicate, but it doesn't have speech, doesn't have the language from the beginning. So what he's doing is you're painting on his brain multiple colors, multiple pictures, right, or using words, and then he's speaking all these noises, all these sounds, and then he started to make sense of them, and that's why they can learn multiple languages and with no effort, with no grammar and syntaxes and all this kind of thing. They don't need that. So just by painting correctly the image, then they can really learn, right, and they can then become proficient at it. They can then try to paint you, right, paint your pictures for you, and then when you finally have that connection, then it's like, yeah, you understand what I'm saying, and then everything makes more sense. So that's why he was saying that in philosophical investigations, what he did is completely discard his previous Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, and then said, it was all bullshit. I was wrong. Which is the first philosopher and only philosopher, I believe, that has completely dissed their entire philosophy and say, remember what I said here, and I would feel full believer in that. Scratch that. This is the new product, right? Philosophy 2.0, right? And he was saying that it is a game, right? And it's not based on logic. You're just painting these pictures, right? So it's the two different, very important books that Wittgenstein created. that's the thing, no? I'm saying hairy apple all the time to you, and you've never seen a hairy apple, I'm pretty sure, but you could combine all those things together and then imagine the hairy apple, your hairy apple, right? So when you are in a couple relationship and then you have this kind of miscommunication, that's because you are not, and they always say that's why you are not communicating effectively, is because you are not painting the right things in the other person's head. So you have to, the problem, the onus is not the receiver. It's like, you don't understand me. It's not you don't understand me. It's you could not manage to paint the picture in my brain. So all those wives, nagging wives that are trying to make their husbands telepaths, telepathy, they're failing because of this. Okay, so I think we're getting to the end of the thing, but let me be a bit provocative, right? Where are the limits? Where are the limits? Is this only a human thing? So, for example, in one previous article, I was talking about teaching apes or chimpanzees how to sign, right? To communicate. Like, some people would say, are you really communicating with the ape? Yes, you are saying, this is the sign for whatever, banana. No, this banana is like this, or I think it's like this, or something like that. And then the monkey says, oh, banana. No, I want a banana. Please give it to me. No, and they would say, me, banana. No, okay, me the banana. And then you say, does he really understand? Are you really talking or communicating with the chimpanzee? Some people would say yes. Some people say no. They don't really know. You just basically they have this kind of intuition, but they don't really understand what they're doing. They just repeat it because they get a reward. No, Ludwig Wittgenstein would say yes. You are communicating. You painted that image of the banana, the concepts, you arrange it into his mind, and then they are telling you, they're painting you banana, and then he got what he wanted. He got the banana, right? You gave it to him. So then that was communication. It was correct. Like same with a parrot, right? You tell the parrot every time you give him a biscuit, you say biscuit, and then the parrot would say biscuit, and then you give the biscuit, and then it would say biscuit, and then you give the biscuit, and then are you communicating? Because you say all this parroting, no? You're parroting, you're just repeating what you're saying without understanding what it is. Well, if the parrot wanted the biscuit and they told you biscuit and then you gave him biscuit, I think that's pretty good communication, right? The parrot got what he wanted, no? And the one thing is, if you go, for example, for a walk, right? You go for a walk and you go up to the top of a mountain, and then you see all the amazing scenery, and you are in awe there. Oh my God, is the scenery talking to you? Is it painting like a picture in your mind, right? Is the way for Mother Nature or whatever you call it talking to you in that right moment? Is that why people go to the countryside and just to experience nature? Is it because they actually are receiving all these mental pictures, these images, and that is more or less like establishing a connection with nature, right? Maybe Wittgenstein would say yes. It is, no? And then finally, just the final thing is I promise, the death of philosophy, no? So here is what happened when Wittgenstein he published the Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus. And it was the 7 statements, and the last one was just one line, and in the one line said, what we cannot speak about, we must pass over in silence. So maybe I should explain this a little bit more, because what he said is that things that can be explained with logic, they are meaningful, and things that cannot be explained by logic, they are nonsense. And then he classified philosophy, religion, metaphysics, ethics, even ethics, right? Morality and things cannot be explained with logic, so they are nonsense. So you should just ignore. Don't waste your time. So then he condensed all of that into the statement number 7, which is the last one, that says, what we cannot speak about, we must pass over in silence. So it's like, just stop talking about philosophy, ethics, and religion, and all these kind of things. It's not logical, makes no sense, it's nonsense, so just forget about it. And just like that, he killed philosophy. He solved philosophy. And that was the Vienna Circle, all the philosophers from Vienna, they absolutely loved this, and they said, this is it. You know, he did it, he's our hero, right? And they fully said, you know, we should just, you know, stop gathering at cafes and talking about all this philosophy. You know, he killed philosophy, he solved it. So yeah, you have probably your own opinion. So this is the end of the episode today. It was a little bit more technical or more complex. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If not, if yes, just leave some comments at the bottom, subscribe, and you can always read the original article, which is a bit more technical, but you know, you have nice photos and everything. Okay, so until the next one, bye.